This is Roland Sands. Join me on my journey to build the world's first MotoGP powered custom motorcycle.
There's not many people that can say they built their own MotoGP machine anyway.
It probably to the average person seems like madness, you know, we got something pretty cool looking that's going together.
Roland Sands KR-V5 Tracker, a year in the making, 10 months from conception through design, 2 months from fabrication start to the final assembly. The people surrounding the project come from all over the motorcycle world, from racing legends through to custom motorcycle industry professionals.
Roland has brought a real freshness to custom bike building.
By the time he was out of high school, he was doing design work for Performance Machine on a regular basis.
He always got in trouble, so my parents made him go to work.
Probably when he was late teens. He said, I want to do something different.
Racing bikes gave me a certain style and thought process when it came to building bikes. Like, I just had a different way of looking at the motorcycles, how they went together, and I was always looking for an aggressive approach without bolting a bunch of crap on the bikes. Whiskey Tango was the first bike I built, and I built that while I was still racing. It
was in several magazines, and from that point on, I said, okay, just take and go with it, you know, and he started building bikes.
And I think he just kind of incorporating a lot of his knowledge and experience from racing, and I think he's probably one of the only guys going that direction.
Roland doesn't just go have people do it for him, he does build it himself because he has the vision.
So many of the other guys out there are kind of copying what's been done before years ago and doing stuff, but Roland's got some good fresh ideas.
The designs look powerful, they look strong, energetic, they look like they could take off.
Kenny Roberts is a legend in the highly exclusive world of MotoGP racing. He won the AMA Grand National Championship in '73 and '74 and the FIM 500 World Championship in '87, '89 and '80. Other titles to his name include the Daytona 200 in '78, '83 and '84. In 1983 he became team owner when he began Team Kenny Roberts.
I think if you look throughout the paddock, Team Roberts is one of the most forward-thinking and creative teams that there are.
It was the same style of forward-thinking that in 2005 led to the idea of building a custom motorcycle around a MotoGP power plant, a world's first.
Dealt with Roland and his dad on some Harley wheels and special transmissions for his little 250. So because he was from the racing industry, it was a puzzle that fit together pretty well.
A year from the date that we originally conceptualized this idea and said, yeah, we want to do it, I said I'd deliver him a running finished bike. And to me, that's an important deadline to meet. I feel that I've given my word to Kenny that I'm going to finish this project. When I first got the Kenny Roberts motor, the first thing I did was just kind of start visualizing what I saw it becoming.
The engine was developed solely for the purpose of racing in MotoGP series, at a cost of over $18 million by the UK-based Team KR. Roland is currently in possession of the only MotoGP engine outside of the highly exclusive paddock.
I drew up like 3 or 4 concepts, so I sent Kenny 3 of them that I thought were cool. I had one nailed down that I really wanted to build. It was a little bit more sport bike-ish, and I had him talked into that one. And then I drew up the board tracker, and I sent him that one. He just sent an email back that said, build this one. And that was all it said.
I've been thinking about building a board tracker forever.
The earliest form of motorcycle racing, board tracking, pitted riders against each other on a banked wooden circular track. Because of its incredibly dangerous nature, the sport was short-lived.
I wanted something that was going to be the true essence of what the time was back then. This is in the real essence of what board tracking was about, which is incredibly fast motors and technically advanced motors, chassis of the day and the look of the day, so this is an out of control machine. This drawing came from tire sizes and a motor placement. And that I kind of took and traced over the top of a board tracker. This is a way that we can come in and we fudge stuff a little bit to try and get the right trail out of it. And this bike is basically the same geometry as a 1914 board tracker. What we're looking at right now, we're going to go out and create out in the shop as a fixture. And from there, that's how we build our frame. We're gonna go try to find Rodney. He's in the, I don't really know where he's at exactly. He said he's by the side of the freeway. So we're gonna go try to find him.
Rodney, a self-described technocrat, is a friend of Roland's, as well as a fabricator and motorcycle builder, who assisted him during the biker build-off project.
Better vibe over here. It's much nicer.
We're gonna go pick up some DOM chromoly tubing. Want to get the best stuff we can get. It's a little thinner wall, and DOM, it's seamless tubing, so there's no seam on the inside. So if we want to do any, you want to squash the tubing or you know, form it a little bit, it'll do it without cracking. So what we're doing right now is we're just kind of did a basic frame layout of where we think the tubes are going to go. This gives us a little bit of a feel for how our lines are going to start to flow in and around the motor.
Well, I was just saying move the motor forward, and then you've got it's 2 inches longer in the back.
We could split the difference. Yeah. You know, and I want it to be short because that's going to give it this crazy ass look. You know, you got to know I went the complete extreme on this.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the same as being, yeah, because it's the same dimensions as that Harley, dude.
Yeah. When they're buzzing through, looking through the plexiglass of the crowd, they're gonna want 2 inches in the back.
They're gonna appreciate that extra 2 inches. Trying to get this line here even on both sides of the motor as it comes around. So we're figuring out our bung lengths off of the motor here. So Rodney's spinning up those steel bungs. We made some threaded pieces here and some more bungs that are going to go right here for our frame as it comes back and connects from the swing arm into the back of the motor. And now it's just putting all the pieces, the finished pieces together on the fixture and doing the frame up.
Although Roland has never chosen to sell any of his motorcycles, when he was approached with an incredible offer, the business side of Roland couldn't refuse, and he decided to part with his beloved custom. Grande Moco.
Just this bike is just a hot bike. I'm very happy to.
It's a piece of art. You know, some people like big Picasso. This is my Picasso here.
You're my only guy that I sold a bike to.
Thank you.
Only one.
I know.
You know, I usually like to keep them. It's kind of rough a little bit. I feel a little sad about it. It's definitely one of my favorite bikes. Piece of my heart went away today. There'll be more. So this morning we laid out our backbone, which is basically the spine of the frame, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to link everything up to our rear axle mount area. This is going to have a little, and this is going to have a bend in it this way. And the most important thing is that we get a nice flow as it comes up from the axle plate into the backbone, and basically that flow has to carry from there all the way to the neck. Tom's built a lot of cool bikes, and he's been in the industry for quite a while. In the past, especially on a couple of the Discovery builds, Tom's been a valuable guy to have around. He's a good motivator. This project, he's really been
about as useful as a tit on a bull, basically because he's building his own bike. But it's all good. You know, he looks kind of tough, so that keeps us out of fights and stuff.
It's just what I was born to be, was tattooed and build custom motorcycles. I've been buying brakes from his family and wheels for about 27 years now. I've known Roland since he was a youngster.
Roland Sands is the son of Perry and Nancy Sands, founders of Performance Machine. Founded in 1970, they started out designing brake systems before branching out into wheels, controls, and other motorcycle parts. It was their unique approach that set up Performance Machine as the motorcycle aftermarket industry leader that they remain today.
The kid's just a cool designer. He just has really fresh outlook at it, and he's brought all his racing stuff into it, and it's really functional, fast art.
I'm ready, dude. I'm ready. Every single step, I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm just gonna get on. I'm gonna get a little curve down and a little curve in. There's a couple issues that we're a little indecisive about. The lower rails, it's a little wider than I'd anticipated it being, so it kind of catches you on your legs right here. So we're gonna have to get the thing on the ground and see what if we like that setup and that width. If not, we're gonna build another frame. So I think we're at a decent point right now. I'm happy. Tomorrow, by the end of the day, this thing will be on the ground for sure.
The central line of the motor versus the mounting surfaces are off nearly an inch when the bike comes off the lift. The team realised that the unbalanced look doesn't fit the original design, and they are now back to the first step, a rebuild of the frame.
We finished the frame yesterday and then we cut it apart last night. Usually you're back and the motor's forward.
We tried to talk ourselves into it like that it was actually cool.
We thought it was cool.
But in all reality, we knew it wasn't, but we didn't want to admit it.
And it took at least 2 more hours of fabrication to reach that conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right now we're here. We're there. And that, we're gonna go here for later.
Seems to me that we be sweating like a foundry. When I see the people on their way to
So you lose this line. This line's gone.
You could cut up little pieces and try and fix it, but that wasn't going to solve our problem, so start from scratch.
You know, it took, a week to lay everything out and get all the pieces made, and then, a day to put it together and finish weld it, so. One of us must have had a wobbly eye, or both of us had a wobbly eye each. I mean, the only thing you could do is bring that line up to the seat and then up to that post in the back and then back up and around. Taking it apart and redoing it was only a matter of another day. So we're at the end of today.
Arlen Ness is a living legend in the custom motorcycle world. He is one of the most respected and well-established builders in the industry.
Been doing business with Perry for about 35 years. Both businesses kind of were neck and neck, in the same type of industry and growing about the same speed there for all the years. And I can remember Roland just as a young little guy, Actually, it's risky going out on a limb and doing something completely different because you don't know how many people are going to like that, or what the end result, what you're looking for the end result. You got to love it and you just got to live it.
I think we're happy enough with this one that we're going to put it on the ground and see what it looks like before we cut it up.
Finally happy with the frame, but 4 days behind schedule, Roland and Rodney are ready to start laying out the sheet metal.
You're going to be on your tippy toes when you're on.
Well, I won't be.
We're in Azusa about to go test the No Regrets road bike, RSD.
No Regrets was the first project Rodney and Roland worked on together.
Oh, she wants to run! Oh, she wants to run!
It was built for the Discovery Channel's Biker Build-Up program, put together in only 10 days for a 3-event competition. The bike is an incredible achievement and was awarded the Biker Build-Up victory. After a much-needed ride to blow off some steam, Roland is back in the shop to begin sheet metal fabrication in the face of a heavy deadline.
Struggling with the gas tank right now and trying to lay out something that's going to look good and flow right. It's kind of ending up, it ain't looking nothing like the drawing. This bike does not want that gas tank. I like that gas tank, but that gas tank is made for another machine somewhere else that isn't here today. We got a lot of width right here in the frame, and the gas tank needs to in some way meet the frame. You know, this is especially a struggle on this bike. A lot of bikes, you throw a gas tank on it and you're good, you know. The motor doesn't dictate really much of anything, but this thing is really dictating the tank's width and shape. It just needs details to start breaking it up. What we have here is an official running, fully functioning MotoGP bike in my shop. It's not every day you see one of these, and it's definitely not every day that you get to have one in your shop. This is definitely going to sort out a lot of questions that we have. Some of the cooling stuff, fuel pump, how that stuff's all routed, pretty much how everything's routed within here and how much electronics we're actually going to need and where we're going to put them all so that we don't have, you know, a real ugly set of wiring going through the bike. It's kind of a trip. It's a real trip having it here. You know, I really needed to hear that bike. And that was like, we gotta get this thing running. We gotta make this happen. So I'm re-inspired and I'm ready to charge again.
The stress from the rapidly approaching deadline melts away as the bike is fired up for the RSD team.
I'm like excited, I want to ride it. It's pretty angular right now, and I think the top of the gas tank's pretty wide. The fuel rail for the injectors is as wide as that tank is. And then it tapers down to the sides of the motor so we have that flow. But what we're looking at doing is coming back in and cutting some of that tank away to lose some of the weight that's up top. And not only that, but we're gonna give ourselves some room for legs and for your arms up in front. I think we're well on our way to having a concise vision for what we want. You know, it's crazy because the bike changed so dramatically from our original concept. Original concept was pretty simple, board track style. The next big step is the rear fender and seat combo. If we're gonna go ahead and do a tail section, or if we're gonna go ahead and do the older style seat with a small fender. Because the big thing is that flow from front to back.
I just want to know if all that's going to happen before or after I get to ride this.
After Tuesday.
Can we get that like a date, a time or something?
You know, I didn't even really get a chance to think about it, and then we fired it up in the flood control, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna get to ride this thing. You know, that bike is in another realm from anything I've ridden. You know, the small amount of time I got to spend on it was just a taste. It felt like it was just a taste, and it made me want to ride it on a racetrack so bad.
At the cost of nearly $500,000, the opportunity to ride a race-ready MotoGP bike is extremely rare and a once-in-a-lifetime experience. For Roland, it is a dream come
riding the Proton was insane. I didn't get to ride it on a racetrack yet, but just riding it in the flood control is pretty rad. What's next is I'm going to have some. I'm going to get ran over by a boat, dude. It's going to be gnarly. Our whole game plan, our whole setup, everything just...
A freak accident at the river has left Roland with a broken rib and nearly an unusable left side.
My ribs busted. I can barely really do much fabricating myself. And just...
His next surprise is a phone call from Rodney, his right-hand man.
Rodney,
Yeah.
what happened? Did you punch somebody?
No, dude. I kind of high-sided, I think. I kind of went down. Well, dude, it was like, it was a good 120 to 130. And then the bike started pushing, like trying to run me over.
Yeah.
So I kicked my bike.
While you were sliding on the ground?
Yeah, and got it off, got it away from me. I went to pick my bike up, and my left hand just went, oh, dude, I'm broken.
Oh. Which, where's it broke?
Just in between, like the, well, between the wrist and the first, like, joint.
Are you going to the doctor right now?
Well, I'm trying to find a doctor.
Okay. We got half a bike, and we're 4 weeks away from having to have a whole bike.
It's going to come together.
Okay. You're being really optimistic right now.
I did.
Because I was freaked out about it before you broke your hand.
Yeah, I know a little bit, but
yeah,
the hand is just a minor piece of equipment. I mean, it is used, dude. My pincher.
You only have 2 of them, dude, and
I know, but
when you lose one of them, it's. Have you worked with a broken hand before?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just get an X-ray tonight for sure, man.
You know.
Yeah. All right, Holmes.
All right, dude. Well, I'll call you after I go there.
Okay, man.
Later.
Peace.
Such a bummer, right? Strangely enough, there's this stunt kid sitting there, Jason Britton. And I just told him what happened, you know. I'm just like, man, I'm screwed. My fabricator just broke his hand. I got to finish this bike in 3 weeks. And he says, well, I know somebody. So he says he's a little funny looking, but he's a pretty cool kid, you know? So this kid, Hoops shows up. And he talks the talk.
It's hard to finish something when you don't have a second head to think about ideas.
Exactly, dude. Well, Rodney, I just talked to him, and he's like, dude, I don't care if I broke my hand. I still want to do this thing.
Right.
So he'll be around, but, you know, I got major work to do. It has a lot of issues, dude. He comes in, he says, you know, that he can do just about everything under the sun. So I'm like, okay, people like that, either they can do everything in the sun or they're full of shit. So there was only one way to find out. It was kind of like put up or shut up at that point. And so he says, I can't work without my toolbox. And I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. Bring your toolbox over. He says, well, there's a slight problem with that. I says, what, you know? He's like, well, it's like 12 feet long. And I'm like, oh my God. We made a sacrifice at the beginning of the build, which I shouldn't have done, you know? We left the neck longer than we had originally anticipated. The whole build, I'm thinking, we need to shorten it, we need to shorten it. And we talked about it, but we started on the sheet metal before we did it, which was a bad idea. You know, it was just a mistake on my part, you know, letting it slip by. So when the kid came in, you know, he said the same thing that I've been thinking and telling that me and Rod had been talking about.
So usually if you stick to your original ideas, you're good to go.
And I said, well, if you're gonna start, let's do the first thing, let's just chop this neck. Let's do it and let's start again. So we chopped it. I'm already much more happy with what we got, and I think it's gonna come back to what the original design was.
Roland, in order to further feature the amazing engine, he decides to have the V5 motor polished. The crew disassemble the engine and send it to JD Polishing.
Right now we're going to the polish shop.
Although the finished look will be well worth the time it will take, Roland is painfully aware of the fact it will leave him with less time to have the project finished within his time frame. The possibility of having the engine stranded in England is a chance he'll just have to take.
Jason's a new engineer. He's supposed to be designing product right now.
You know, originally I was hired to be somewhat of an engineer.
And I didn't know quite what to expect. You know how well his hands-on skills were. I knew he had computer skills.
A lot of people had some opinions on Roland. They said he was a young punk, but I didn't really believe him, so I decided to come down and check it out for myself.
So I just kind of threw him in the mix, and it was actually a really good time for us to get to know each other and start to work together.
There's a lot of mutual respect, so it's good.
And he's a really talented fabricator as well, so I think that's going to make him a great designer. We scrapped the other gas tank. We were going to cut it up again, and I just said, hey, let's just start over from scratch. Me and Hoops just kind of worked together and just banged that stuff out and got the one side pretty much where it needed to be.
Everything has its challenges, but as long as you know where you want to go, you just get there.
I just made these mounts that go onto the back of the tank. Because it's a two-piece tank, it's kind of tricky to mount, so this is what it does. So all that hard work culminates into...
I think we just kind of all started working together pretty well. We tried to do something that was as minimalistic as possible on the rear fender. We wanted to to flow with the frame. I just took a piece of steel and sliced it in half at an angle. I hand-shaped 2 sheet metal pieces that went on the back of that. We tacked that on and made some divots for clearance for the exhaust pipes in the back, and that was it. We wanted to get a nice classic race look out of the seat. That seat is such a key focus on that bike because it's just hanging out there in the wind, you know? So I wanted to borrow some cues from the earlier bike. We're going to make this seat basically the same way they used to make board track seats. And the shape of this dictates your sew line and dictates your padding. So I kind of gotta mess with it around the steel and see what kind of shape we can get. Maybe we'll just use this one off my dad's Indian. Dad would be pissed. It's alright. So we pretty much crafted that seat pan a little bit after the other seat pan, kind of figured out how they did that one and shaped our seat accordingly. Mounted it kind of trick. I like the way we mounted it, just with the 2 posts like that, but it's got a lot of surface area. Now we're ready to basically send that seat off to Bill Wall Leather, and he's going to bust the seat out for us.
Even though Roland is incredibly busy with his own project and business, when his friend Trigger Gum has his distance jump record broken by a rival, he calls up Roland to reclaim his record and his bragging rights.
It just isn't right, it's wrong, but we're going to make it right. Have you ever had one of these, like 100% apart?
No. It's like some crazy dinosaur or something, huh?
All these beautiful parts we got. That's how we do it, right there. Candy apple red flake, all gold leaf outlines, silver flake underneath it.
It's like, where does that go? There's no way that I could ever figure that out. The thing that I like is like getting it all together and there's like 4 screws.
And you're just like, oh man. Well, that's a bummer.
smaller sprocket, you're going to go faster. You know, and a bigger sprocket, you're going to have a little bit more punch off the low end.
Just show them how we open beers in the shop.
Oh, God damn it.
It's the only one of its kind in existence, and you know, after we see this thing jump a margin that's never been jumped before by a human, it's going to be worth who knows what.
It's going to be a monster.
We got a lot done last week.
With Rodney injured but still willing to contribute, Roland gives him both the complex wiring harness and the electrical schematics to study, preparing him to assist with the difficult electrical modification that will take place during the final assembly.
Jason's been buttoning up a lot of loose ends. We've been working together on the cooling system and what we want to do with that. Got everything mounted, radiators mounted. At the same time, Hoops was hooking up the shrouding. Don't you have something to do?
I'm waiting for you to approve that.
Start over again.
Okay. See how easy that is?
Anytime anybody builds a bike with a radiator, that's always the big question. What are you going to do with the radiator? How are you going to make the radiators look cool? And then kind of in the middle of sketching it out, all of a sudden it was like having this hot rod feel, which I think was perfect, you know, considering the era that the bike came from. And we're still pretty far away on the shrouding. We had to stop midway and get on the exhaust system so we could finish up the routing of how we want to mount the shroud on the bottom and everything. We have a half titanium, half Inconel exhaust. As the exhaust comes out of the header tubes, it's all Inconel, and then it goes into titanium tips. So we're cutting and chopping and putting together the exhaust system. We're figuring out problems, hands-on problems, where things have to work and we got to figure it out and make it the same day. When we did finally finish the exhaust, it's like, okay, we're ready to rock now. We can mount everything else.
Roland receives an email. He has been invited by Lord March to the Goodwood Festival of Speed in England, a trip that will also allow him the opportunity to tour the Kenny Roberts factory.
We're in a pinch to get this thing done. We got basically a week and a half from today till the bike goes to paint, so it's definitely crunch time. By the end of the week, we're going to have all the exhaust pipes finished. We're going to have all the sheet metal pretty much how it's going to look. It might not all be finalized as far as what's going to go inside it, but it'll look right. Rear fender, the radiator shroud, all the exhaust will be mounted. We'll have the thing on the ground, and we'll be able to kind of throw it in Illustrator, and I'll be able to get a graphic representation of what we're going to have for a final piece.
Well, this tube makes the bike go faster. That's what I thought.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. In the industry, they call it the speed tube. No, it's just to tie everything together, triangulate the rear end. Points right here, it's relying on the motor for structural integrity.
The reason why you put it in the vise is so the vise can hold the piece for you. It's like two other hands that you really don't have.
Hoops is comedy. That dude's comedy.
Well, basically what we got going on right here is that the part doesn't fit. Let's go shape it.
It's worth it for sure to spend the time on it. Making it so it mounts up really cleanly and all the gaps are perfect. It's just a lot of messing around to get that thing right, but you know, that's just a beautiful piece on the front of the bike. And we got a radiator shroud. Pumped. We got the cases back from the polisher. It's not every day you get to do this. So these got to go back to Kenny tomorrow and get our motor assembled, our finished motor. Got to ship them back to England. And we'd like to assemble it here, but you know, there's no way. These motors are so complicated. Probably right when I send it back, in between GPs, they'll assemble it. Hopefully. If the engine doesn't get back the day I get back from England, then this thing won't get finished. And that'll suck. We're 90% there right now. The bike, looks-wise, is finished. No, except for the scoops. The scoops.
Hit it! Harder!
You're supposed to be building a motorcycle.
Roland heads off for a photo shoot featuring his No Regrets bike. The build marks the first for the Biker Build Off television show as their premier performance-oriented contest. Roland, who was the show's victor, was competing against his good friend and fellow custom motorcycle builder Jesse Rook.
I like how it's sparkly. I think that's pretty cool. And I like the red. I don't know too much about bikes, but I think I like this
I need to find out where my triple clamps are. This is a piece that's going on the V5, but it's also a piece that we're developing for production for stock Harleys, for FXRs. So we're going to put this on the bike and develop it for the bike. We're using production as an excuse to build the parts we want to build, which is always good. PM to make stuff is pretty tough in the middle of busy season right now because production's so heavy. So I really try not to push to do too much out there. You know, and anything I am doing right now out there is going to be for production later on, and none of it's one-off pieces, nothing that we're doing. So a lot of the product we're using on this bike is PM product that's available for sale.
From a design point, a lot of people didn't realize that he was responsible for all the design of PM product.
There is a whole science behind it. We have to verify that the product qualifies for all kind of different bikes.
Well, I'm trying to get triple clamps out of the shop right now. And I'll be stoked if we get those by next week.
We'll work back and forth with Roland, and he has a pretty good idea how the product will be made. He's been with the shop, I would say, probably all his life. So when he comes up with the design, I haven't seen anything that we are not able to make.
Thought goes into every piece. It's not like we just pick up a catalog and buy products for these bikes. You know, it's like if there's a gap in the design, and if there's something we don't like, then we'll make a part for it. You know, and if we need to get a certain function out of a part that we can't find anywhere, we'll just make it. The triple clamps, I mean, that's like kind of the heart of your geometry of your bike. So we wanted to design a triple clamp that was bitchin' looking and that was really functional and lightweight. I actually designed these one night pretty late, just the basic feel for them and everything. I had all the geometry and I just kind of felt them out, you know, what I wanted to do. I think we're going to translate into a cool product. Basically for putting high performance suspension on Harley Davidsons.
The day before Roland has to leave for England, the V5 tracker is finally ready to go to paint. However, Roland's paint scheme still remains to be finalized.
30 seconds of props. After about 10 seconds, it feels kind of weird.
This is kind of how I do my final design. Just take a good side profile of the bike and start laying out colors. So I was like going through this book, looking at all these bikes. You know, it has, when you walk up to the bike, I want you to feel a little bit of the old feel, a little bit of history. The Iver Johnson, this bike here, this is an amazing bike. The original colors that I laid down for this were kind of like similar to this. So what I do is I go in and I'll lay out my frame color. Then I'll go in, I'll lay in some body color, and get those colors going. And then start to just add some detail in, get some little outlines going, and adds kind of the flow of the body work and gives you a feel of the shape of the sheet metal. I'll come in and throw my highlights in. Next I'll come in and throw some whatever graphics or whatever panels I want to do. Last but not least, throw some graphics on there. The most bitching thing about laying it out in the computer is you can change the colors. So if you want to go in and switch it up, stuff that you think, no dude, it will never work, you know, but it will a lot of times. Yeah, that's the olive drab right there. The white looks nuts. Damn! That's a good looking bike right there. Save that one.
With Roland happy with the paint layout and the graphic design, the tracker is leaving to Airtrix paint shop in Santa Barbara, California. Roland is leaving for his multi-stop tour of the UK. He leaves knowing that both the reassembled motor and the paint must be ready and waiting upon his return if he is to make Kenny's deadline.
Sure.
Rest assured, we're going to chest assured.
We're going to England and we're going to go ride motorcycles. Welcome to England.
Roland heads to Donington Raceway for an invitational track day. This will not be the first time he's been on this track, as he competed here during his professional road racing career, finishing second in the 250 GP British Super Cup race in 2000.
But I only made it 3 laps. 3 laps into testing. It hurt so bad. Buried my head all along this grass right here.
Also at Donington Raceway, Roland takes the opportunity to catch up with former race competitor and current MotoGP World Champion points leader, Nicky Hayden.
Actually, me and Roland go back a bit for sure. I mean, we raced together and rode together some on dirt bikes, and Roland's a character. Back in the day, we used to have some good laughs.
Where did I crash here? Oh, no. Okay. I crashed right here, actually. Coming in right there. The little X right here. This is where I was laying on the ground.
Brilliant.
Ouch! Oh, God.
Meeting up at Donington Park, Roland and Kenny discuss the progress of the project prior to their heading off to the KR Team factory for a tour. Back in the US, the frame is getting prepared for paint by Airtrix owner Chris Wood and his crew.
This project is a little more actually a lot more time consuming than other projects because there's no metal flake. This is strictly metallic base coats, which the bodywork has to be perfect. This whole project will probably have about 150 hours by the time we're done. So yeah, quadruple overtime. This project with Kenny Roberts involved, this is going to be a really special project because he's the king, you know, we all know that. And I'm quite honored to have one of his motors in conjunction with the RSD bike, my paint. It's just a great marriage of talent.
Back in England, Kenny takes Roland on a tour of his factory.
We have millions of dollars worth of motors sitting in the motor department. So it's like, okay, what are we going to do with this? And we knew Roland. So we started actually looking into putting an electric starter on it. And he said, no, it would be cool not to have a starter motor. Okay, perfect, do it. It's yours, let's do it. You want to look around?
Yeah.
Show you the place?
Oh, wow.
So, in the process of drawing a new linkage.
New suspension
Germany.
linkage.
Yeah. We have 6 craftsmen now doing the
Full time, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
We've made over 500 different part numbers for that machine this year.
Brand new stuff.
Brand new. Because not only do we have to make the part,
You got to catalog them and.
we've got to catalog it, we've got to make sure it's all there. Titanium nuts and bolts. This stuff isn't just like off the shelf stuff. It's been over 500, close to 600 parts that we've had to design and make. Barrel injectors that never made it to the racetrack. All that stuff, handmade.
All CNC'd?
Yep. When I saw that on a design board, I said, don't make that. Oh yeah, well we're gonna make whatever fits. Then come back and that was all done. So that guy no longer works here.
This is such a bitchin' pipe. Well, the pipes on the bike will be pretty light. We did use tie.
Yeah.
Yeah, did the
that's
tie
okay.
ends on it, but that's a beautiful piece.
X starts as a solid piece of
Billet. And it's
then
machined
we do
out.
that. It's 7,000 pounds a piece. So it's about 15,000 US a piece for that.
Son of a bitch.
Our newest steering head. Here's your room. It looks a little different, a little loud for us.
That's a proper chopper motor right there.
I would say firing that thing up in a crowded street, it's going to stop everything.
Yeah, this is gonna look awesome. That thing looks proper. It's gonna look insane.
Yeah, it's insane. It's probably the word you're looking for.
It is insane. It'd be
We have
insane.
no restrictions. I mean, we've got all these motors right here. You know, they're just all sitting there ready
They're
to
sitting
go.
there ready to go. So do you see yourself having like an advantage?
Of course, we have an advantage.
I mean, it could you could have a solid advantage in the European races because you can get parts done the next week.
That's right. And,
Yeah.
we have a lot of advantages with this type of setup. The stuff that we've seen in the magazines and at Laguna Seca last year, we saw some of Roland's stuff. Hey, you know, Roland's probably one of the good guys to do this. And not only that, but he's from the racing heritage. Roland looks at the bike completely different than the way I look at the bike. He looks at it more as an art form or what this is and what that could be cool. When I would go, oh, no, that's too heavy.
Back in the US, the sheet metal green base coat is done and the second phase of the tank painting is about to begin.
Every bike I do with Roland, usually we kind of keep it old school and we panel certain body lines off to maybe accent a body line. It's like riding a motorcycle. You have to look about, I don't know, a couple inches ahead of where you're going. And we're going to put an RSD design, like a ghost image, in the back of the panel. It's going to be kind of a bone white, a little darker hue of the RSD. That's how you conserve paint. Mix up old stuff with the new stuff. These colors are going to work perfect. I've got to clear coat it And then I'll go ahead and pinstripe in a red stripe. And then I think we're gonna do a little black around that. And then I gotta put the KR logo here. I'm gonna paint it on, by hand.
Back in England, the Goodwood Festival of Speed in Chichester, West Sussex, is an annual event sponsored by Lord March to celebrate all vehicles motorsport related.
To come here and see this many cool vehicles, motorcycles, and the personalities that go right along with them, it's been really amazing.
Will you please welcome Roland Sands, ladies and gentlemen. Now this bike of yours, this David V-twin, it's a stunning looking machine. How did it come about and what's the idea behind it?
The bike was built for the Discovery Channel. We did a biker build-off with a friend of mine, Jesse Rose. Definitely it sways toward more of the road racing style of bike. We hand-built the chassis in the shop and built pretty much the entire motorcycle in the shop in a 3-week period.
Just one final question. What's next on the drawing board?
I have a MotoGP engine sitting in my shop. When I get home, that bike is completely done, fabricated and painted and everything when I get back and put the thing together.
Excellent. Good luck with that. We look forward to seeing it. Maybe we'll see you here next year. Roland Sands, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Gives me some ideas about wanting to do a frame and maybe using some stuff like this in the frame here. Since I can't really ride a motorcycle all that fast anymore, I figure burnouts. That's what Goodwood is about. $100,000 motorcycles just getting the crap beat out of them. The McLaren F1 car pulls up. The Mercedes-Benz F1 car pulls up right by me. It's just spinning the tire. I'm sitting there with all my gear on, you know, sitting on no regrets, just revving it. And, you know, F1 cars are coming by me. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. Looking at a lot of the older cars, it kind of inspired. There was a lot of inspiration just from looking at some of that stuff, and you know, I mean, what they did back then was amazing. You can see the hammer marks on the inside of those scoops. You can see inside there. You can see where they hand pounded all that and shaped it all. This is one of the most amazing vehicles I've ever seen, dude, in person. You know, some of the hand-built stuff that you see in the Precision, and it's just a lot of really cool little parts on the bikes and ways that they did things that give me ideas about how to do new things as well. They both look good.
Lord March and the Goodwood Festival honour Roland for his No Regrets project, and he is presented with an award at the closing ceremony.
But the Goodwood Choice Award for great personal endeavour on Goodwood's behalf, for motorcycling, for a bike that came halfway around the world, and someone who did built the most wonderful motorcycle, and today, with absolutely no preciousness at all, drove it up on slicks in the wet, having spent thousands and thousands of hours just painting it. Roland Sands, RSD, no regrets, from halfway around the world. Roland Sands.
This has been an incredible experience coming over here, and just being surrounded by so many beautiful cars and so much talent. It's just amazing seeing so many of my heroes here and being involved with them, being on the same stage, and being able to come out here and ride for everybody, and just enjoying all of the people that are here has been. I have no words to even express it. It's been amazing. I just want to thank everybody and thank Lord March for putting on an amazing event. Coming over here wasn't just a deal to come over and ride the bike. I mean, for me, it's definitely a lot of influences being put into my head.
I've been gone for too long, so I feel like the time, like the pendulum is swinging. Just getting lower.
Well, got her done. Got that green color.
like how light it is, man. It's so light.
Flat's good, huh?
The flat did turn out nice.
Yeah.
I'm back in the flat. That's pretty sick.
That's nice.
Woo! It's insane. Let's put it together. I just got back from the UK and we have 5 days to build this machine. So I guess you could say the stress level is pretty high right now, and we are all peaking wanting to get this thing finished. And if we got to steal the motor from customs, if we got to do, you know, whatever it's going to take, that's what it's going to take, and we're going to do it. So this is the process. After paint, you got to go through and go back and dress all the parts and make sure that you take all the paint off all the edges, because if you don't, when the bike fires up and, you know, gets hot, starts vibrating, all this paint will just start coming off the bike. So you gotta clean up all the flat surfaces where everything bolts together. Bars turned out sick, dude. Love these things. Ooh. The handlebars are like a cross between, well, that's kind of like a road race board track cross. It's a very board track styled bar, but then we threw some different touches into it where we gave the handlebars a more aerodynamic look in the front. We used some squash tubing to bring some extra dynamics into it and to make it look a little bit different.
Right now we're just prepping the frame. Trying to get that ready so that once we get all of our parts that we can actually assemble it. I actually don't know what's happening with the wheels. Do you know what's happening with the wheels?
This wheel, the contrast cut Judge is what we put on the V5. It's a nice lightweight wheel. It's got a pretty edgy look. The way that we cut them is the way that no one else is really cutting wheels. We started with a blank, a black anodized blank, and then go back through and machine it. I'm sure you'll see other people doing it soon, but we're the first ones to do it. The contrast cut black just has a nice way of showing off all the machine lines, so it gives it a really bitchin' look. And it's a cool finish. It just gives a whole new look to the wheel. It's got a pretty edgy look, pretty core look, so it fits the pissed off image of the V5. The front wheel's lost in the shop. Maybe we'll find it, maybe we won't, I don't know.
Roland and his team have nearly every piece needed for the final assembly, apart from one major component, the machine's heart. The V5 engine is being held in customs due to improper paperwork. As time continues to tick away, the deadline looms and the team is helpless. Numerous phone calls and pleading prove fruitless, and the team is at a standstill.
I don't want to film right now, dude.
One last desperate attempt 3 days before the deadline, and Ronan finally gets the okay to pick up the hand-assembled engine, and the race is on to finish the build.
I look around me, the streets confound me. Seems to me that we be sweating like a foundry. When I see the people on their way to earn a buck or two, what we say, what we do.
We may have to modify these.
The carbon fiber valve covers were sent to paint, but proved to be too difficult for Chris Woods to finish as designed. This leaves the team with no choice but to chip away at the original carbon fiber valve covers to remove the airbox mounts.
On the corner in our homes to our brethren, it should be our self-worth that we be measuring. Take the streets, take the law, make the move, make the score, make it raw. Earn it well, burn in hell, see the fire and brimstone, cause you might as well. Learn the truth, learn your roots, listen to what your mama and your papa's telling you. Get religion, get control.
Technical shit right there, bro.
Yeah, well, I went to school for a long time.
Roland and Jason noticed that one of the engine mounts has been damaged in shipping.
No. Gotta get it straightforward. Yeah, I need something almost in the shape, like a round shape.
The only option with the time constraints is to fully break out the damaged area and grind it smooth.
Days ain't confused, there's nothing but illusion. When reality strikes, it's only confusion. Using you up, Your vices in your life, the sight poise, reapers hold. The bold steps and regrets keep the preacher's soul. We need to break the mold, leave the cast cold. Old stars replenished with new stars. New thoughts call for solutions. When news reports reporting revolutions.
Yeah, what do you know? You think you're the genius here.
We need to be pushed down and forward a little bit. Polishing definitely kicks it up a notch. Can't help it, I can't help it, I gotta steer.
Protects me from danger. I gotta steer. Jeopardizing the whole process.
Not having a front brake on this bike, we figured the rear brake should be about as good as we could possibly get.
Right here, this is our radial brake caliper that we designed up.
And it's a piece that's going to be in the 07 catalog, the Performance Machine catalog. So it was a cool opportunity to again make something that we're going to produce and use this bike as a prototype for it.
We have to basically go through a relatively large wiring harness and slim it up and get rid of some useless components for us and then put it all back together. But I think wiring is going to take 2 days. I feel like it's a 2-day project. It's pretty scary.
What?
All the wires. The computer basically has 100 pins, approximately 100 wires plus. There's probably like another 20 wires on top of that. But we went through and eliminated probably at least like, I don't know, 30% of it. The pile over there is the connectors and the wires that we took off. Essentially it was all for telemetry for data acquisition purposes on the original bike, so that we're not using that. But it's a painstaking process. You essentially don't really get the opportunity to cut one and then wire it back together. It's a little bit more complicated than that. A lot of the wires aren't color-coded. You have to trace it back to the computer and try to develop some sort of strategy. So we went through it really slow. Up to this point, I haven't cut anything that we needed, so that's good. I think we got it mostly wired up. You know, there's probably still 70-something wires, and compared to a Harley that, you know, some Harleys only have a handful of wires, you know. So this is different than what everybody else is doing in the Harley world anyway. Basically, you know, Hoops and Roland went through and just did everything else besides the wiring, which is good. And they're just a few steps away from finishing just about everything.
We had to wrap the exhaust in heat tape because we ended up pulling it in pretty close to the fender. But the heat wrap, I think, also added a pretty cool vintage touch, vintage feel to the look of it.
Bill Wall of Bill Wall Leather has finally finished the seat and is personally delivering it to Roland.
What's up, man?
Cool stuff.
What do you got?
Well, I got this. Like it is.
Oh my God, look at that.
Oh! It looks old.
Yeah, it looks old.
Yeah. That's what you wanted though, right?
It looks all right. Yeah.
This line, this hits. Just a line.
Oh, dude, it's sick.
All right,
it's sick. All the products that connect you to the bike, to me, are the most important. Those are the products that really give you the feel for the bike. The foot pegs I originally designed as kind of like a universal foot peg setup. One side we drilled the frame out and mounted it, and the other side we put 2 bungs on and mounted it, using the V5 as product development for these products.
No bike is complete without its rolling hardware. After a shop-wide search, the missing front wheel is found and the prototype tyre fitted.
Those wheel sizes are something that was pretty close to the OD of the earlier board track racers.
The wheels are then mounted on the bike.
The rear's a 21 by 9, the front's a 23 by 3.5, and I really love the way the setup looks. It just looks wild.
It's almost ready to go. So I'm finishing up the shroud now, putting the screen in it. Basically what we got here is a space-aged. Basically we spread it carefully, not to get any on the mesh.
Space-aged mesh.
And then you wait for about 20 minutes, set it, forget it, come back 20 minutes. It's hard. It works by itself.
Did you remember to put a radiator cap on the radiator? Because none of us did.
No,
there's a wear.
We just got this.
Airtrix has finally finished the number plate, but no one from the paint shop is available to deliver it. With no one from Roland's crew available to leave long enough to make the 8-hour round trip, Perry's help is essential, and he flies his helicopter to Santa Barbara, collecting the final part. Wanting to honour Kenny's amazing race history, Roland chooses 80, Kenny's former dirt track number, for the V5 tracker.
Thank you.
I think it's perfect. Thanks, Pop.
Not bad for you not being here, huh?
Pretty insane, dude. Yeah, it's nice. Getting it started was definitely a little stressful. If we don't finish it on time, I think that you know, I will feel like I've let Kenny down if we don't finish it on time. And I'll feel like I let myself and the whole team down, so I think it's imperative we get it finished in time. It was a little scary. It was a little scary how much stuff we had after we pulled all the wires out of it.
The first start attempts are unsuccessful and the crew begin the troubleshooting process, including a phone call to the electrical engineers at Team KR.
Looks like oil pressure, saying key oil.
You know, I was looking at the ground going, there's no way this thing's gonna run, you know?
We need to check and see if we're getting spark, yeah?
That's fire, Bart.
We had spark, we had fuel, we had air, we had everything we needed for the thing to run.
Working through the process of elimination, the team think they might have isolated the issue.
You know, it had to be firing on the wrong stroke. That's the only thing that made sense of why it wasn't running. Figured that out, we flipped those around.
Ready?
V5 tracker is officially up and running. For Roland and his team, it's a combination of weeks of work, but they have successfully created a motorcycle history first. They still have to button up a few remaining details, but it looks as if Roland will be able to deliver the bike to Kenny within the agreed time frame, and the bike will be ready to be unveiled to the world.
I was nervous. That's very good. I've never wired anything like that before, so it's very scary. It's good though. Runs.
Roland can't help but share the ear-shattering sound of success with King Kenny.
How's that? Yeah, man. Yeah. That means you gotta ride it now. Have I ridden it? No, I'm scared.
It was a little scary, it was dark out. Dark out, you know, 200 horsepower, no front brakes, no headlight, no lights, no lights at all, no lights, no license plate, none of that street stuff.
How's that, dude? Nice, dude.
That's the best maiden voyage I've ever had on a bike, ever. That's the shit. Let's call it a night.
One year since the project's initial conception, 10 solid weeks of fabricating and building, 2 weeks of paint, numerous late nights, injuries, and an incredible effort by everyone involved, and Roland's KR V5 tracker is complete.
Hi, Kenny Roberts. I have no idea where we're at or what we're doing.
Despite his incredibly busy schedule, the first time Kenny is stateside, he and Roland rendezvous for a ride.
Yeah, so I throw the door of the truck up, and Kenny's looking there, and he just starts laughing. Like, what's up? And he's like, I cannot believe. I can't believe that. I can't believe that you built that. he was in amazement that the bike got finished. You know, and then when we actually took the thing out of the truck and set it down, you know, a bunch of people gathered around, and they were just tripping out at the project.
Prior to Kenny's ride, Roland wants to make sure that everything is 100% on the tracker, so he takes it out for a test run.
Something like that since Indianapolis in about '85 when I rode the 4-cylinder on the mile.
It's crazy.
I bet. It looks crazy.
Yeah.
Where's my gear?
1 up, 6 down.
He wants me to wear this black, really cool deal.
Boots?
I don't know. I'm a 42.
There's boots and gloves. Hey, it's Kenny's balls.
The last time I put these leathers on was probably about 20 years ago. Didn't have this shit in it. 1978, they were deerskin.
Cut yourself?
Yeah.
Your long fingernails? We're gonna ride this bike. Kenny's gonna ride it right now. We have a slight injury in the house, but he's gonna get through it.
I'm injured before I even rode it.
Injured before he rides it. Hopefully this is the worst injury of the day.
Better be.
Better be.
Got a lot of steering lock.
Yeah, it's good on that. You can tilt pitch it sideways if you want.
I was trying to get in on it, but...
Job, dude. That's great.
Sick. Just told me I did a good job, like a real sincere, you know, you did a good job, kid, type of thing, and it just, that was a pretty cool feeling from Kenny.
Sick.
I mean, when the thing gets on the pipe, you want it to go off the pipe. It's like,
whoa! Yeah, you're waiting for it to end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's definitely fast. Watch my face. Yeah, exactly. It'd be kind of cool to have a track day.
And ride the thing.
Ride it on a track day somewhere,
yeah.
You gotta get off of it to make it turn, which is kind of cool. It'd be nice to try it on a racetrack somewhere where you
just see how it works.
Well, yeah. Well, you know where a second gear corner is a second gear corner on the street. You don't, the second gear corner could turn into a low gear corner.
Yeah. Full 2-stroke style power balance.
Yeah.
I felt like I was riding my 250 with times 4. You know.
Yeah, I think if you stuck a light on it and a tail light, that'd be a fun thing to ride.
You definitely sort your neighbors out.
You know your good ones from your bad ones.
You know your good ones from your bad ones.
You'd have to take it to like a 65-year-old neighborhood and up, so they couldn't hear it. Really, kind of be nice to run 3 or 4 gears through it and just see what the gearing actually does. But what's fun about it, besides being a goddamn unique motorcycle, is you got to lean it.
Yeah.
You got to put some effort in it, you know.
Thanks a lot, Kenny.
Thanks a lot, dude.
Hey, man. Thank you very much for coming out.
Keep thinking about the next one. We'll do something maybe even more bizarre.
I think twist it up a little bit more. This bike gave me so many ideas about what could happen next. So
a go-kart would be cool. Woo!
The true success of any bike project is measuring its reliability. And after Kenny leaves, Roland can't resist one last run on the KRV5 tracker.
5. This is it. This is the end. This is the closing ceremony. This is the end. Pull it down.